Okay, it's time to work on this whale right here. Now, I'm going to use the wet on wet technique, and I'm gonna try and show you how you can kind of manipulate it, but also what can happen when you use wet on wet and you lose a little bit of control. Now, let's see, I'm gonna use a little bit larger brush, I think, to put the water on it. I've got my Viva paper towel ready to dab if I need to lift off any areas of white. I also have some kosher salt here in a little container, and I may sprinkle this guy with a little bit of salt if I feel like it's going to work for this technique. I did not do that for this one because it was just not wet enough. So we'll see. I will talk about using salt in a video where I just talk about textures. So I just have this in reserve just in case I feel the whim of salt come over me. All right, I'm going to take my clean water and I'm going to paint where I want the blue color to be. Now I'm going to load my brush with my pigment. And I'm going to be a little more aggressive with the pigment because, like I said, we have water already on the whale. Now, again, remember that the pigment will move around in the water as long as the water is still wet. So, because of that, it may do some fun things that we can see if it will stay like that, like this kind of area I'm liking. I really like how it's moving along the body of the whale. I can already tell that this is going to be quite a bit lighter. So first of all, I'm going to dab a little bit of a dry spot for the eye. We'll see how that goes with my Viva Pat paper towel. And I'm going to load my brush with more pigment. And while it's still wet, I'm going to drop in some more pigment. Now I could even choose another color to drop in and let it just kind of mix around in the whale. If I was doing a singular whale, I might play with the colors a little bit, but since I want them to be similar, I'm not going to do that this time, but I may do that in another video. In fact, I want to do that. Okay, that's looking kind of cute. I think I will finish off the details of the whale, excuse me, like I did before with the two brush technique. But for now, we're gonna let this guy dry and then we'll come back and look at it. But I just wanted to let you know that if you want to fill in a small space even, or a particularly specific space, you can actually paint the water, drop in the color, and then that will allow you to do some other things. In fact, I think I will drop some color in, and we'll do a bit of layering. Let's see, I'm gonna grab some violet. We'll do some glazing layers on the other whale with this color instead, and I'll show you the difference when you drop the color in. So I'm gonna drop some of this violet in. It's not gonna be a huge, big dramatic addition to this whale, but just to show you what you can do. So I'm just going to add a little bit along that part of the whale. It's just going to enrich the color that's already there. Just kind of let it mix in. So I'm going to just sprinkle a tiny bit of salt on this whale. It's going to make him a little different than the other whale, but that's okay. And that's what you do with salt. You should just sprinkle a little bit. Probably pushing it. Okay. Now I'm gonna stop, for real. Really gonna let this dry, and then we'll brush off the salt and we'll see if it worked. Salt is a little tricky on the ratio of how wet it is versus the salt. I think I hit the right sweet spot to get some nice textures, but we shall see. The salt technique was a success. We have a really interesting kind of star pattern on the upper part of the whale. I'm going to be using the 2-brush technique to finish the details on this whale. Wet on wet technique is just too capricious to do detail work like this. So right now I'm creating the folds in his belly by putting a line of paint and then softening one edge of it to create the illusion of a fold. For this portion, I'm going to be using a clean blender brush with just water on it to lift off parts of the pigment already on the whale. You can reactivate paint and watercolor, and that can come in really handy. I can also use the blender brush to visually calm down certain areas of texture by softening them and helping them blend into their surroundings a little bit better. These whale friends are all finished, and here's a little bit closer look at the detail on how they turned out. Happy painting!